Hi, welcome to the garden. And it's a lovely day in the garden. It was a lovely night last night in the garden when we had the pink moon, a super moon that was over us, a full moon. So if you're seeing this at 7 o'clock at night, you still have time to write down your intentions list if you want to. It's sort of you have to do it within 24 hours of when the full moon is. A couple of other things that I want to talk to you about that have to do with the show. First of all, is I really, really want to thank everyone who's written comments and sends me, ideas and things to do. And I really, really appreciate the feedback. It really helps me. It also helps me when you tell me I sent this off to a friend or I shared this with someone. If you see a show you think you know someone that they would like or they could benefit from seeing it, please feel free to share. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do with all this stuff, is share it with each other. I want to thank everybody who was so kindly commented on my show on the 20th, which was about the transitioning of my husband from here to there, wherever there is. And I wanted to let you know that I'd had so many comments on that and so many comments about people talking about past lives and future lives and where do we go and how does all this work, that I'm working with someone on putting together a set of shows about understanding transitioning from this side, so that you don't have to come to me in 3 years and say, was my Aunt Betty, did she leave calmly, and all this stuff. I mean, if you happen to be around Aunt Betty, there are things you can do to ameliorate the shock of someone transitioning. And we're going to try to work out some things to help people get through that. Because I had a lot of people who wrote me and said, gee, I wish I'd have known there were things like that. Well, there are, and I'm going to try and find them. And they're going to bring them in the garden and we're going to plant them so that our souls can live in greater peace when we're here together. And then when we choose to separate. Also, y'all know, because I did it a couple nights ago, that it's grid time. It's times that I'm sending all the grids out. So I'm going to show you a bunch more grids. And the way I'm going to show them to you this time is I'm going to put them on my table and kind of read you a quick description of the energy that's supposed to be around that grid. What happens is when you get a grid reading is I do kind of a little reading on where you are. And then we choose from a deck that has a lot of different images that are mandalas and other sorts of images that have to do with frequency and the rising of your vibration and the understanding of different vibrations. And they're powerful little things, these grids. And I've had one woman who said, that's not the grid I wanted. I wanted a grid that said spirituality, and this doesn't say spirituality. Well, after talking to her for a while, she needed the grid she got. I also had a priest who got sexuality, and I said, well, you're incredibly emotionally attached to the issue that he and I were talking about that he was hoping to use a grid for. Well, I got a note from him today that said all of a sudden abundance is coming into this project he'd been working on, and it's really changing the face of how the whole thing works. And then he added a friend on the grid, and she had some good things happen to her. Now, I don't think these things are necessarily talismans. I think they lead us and our spirit to envisioning how to get to the next point. And that's what's really important for us to understand our intentions. So like I said, tonight's full moon, good time to write out some intentions, and let's see what other people are going to be getting this week. Because if they're going out tomorrow, I'm packaging them up tonight. They're going out tomorrow. They should be, except for the poor lady in Canada who God knows when she'll get it. But for the other people who are in the States, they should get theirs in 4 to 6 days at the most. Okay, the first one we're going to look at is allowance. And the vibration of allowance is it asks us to move forward without judgment, without opinion, without resistance or fear. You become a partner with your own universe. And I think that's it's a very grounded things. It's got some wonderful bloodstone in it. It's got some fluorites for kind of bringing in clarity. It's got sardonyx. It has weird numbers. These are 5 cobra jaspers. This is also a jasper, and this is a goldstone. And you kind of have to, it takes a bit more explanation. And when I send a grid to someone, they get a list of what the stones are and how I see this particular grid working for them. The next grid we have to show, I really, really like. And it is called Connection. And I think it's very pretty. And it's one of those weird grids that has threes, which mean change and communication and moving forward. It's got 6 yellow aventurines, which are really, really incredibly good good luck stones. This is blue kyanite, which blue kyanite it's a stone that doesn't ever need to be purified or cleared. It's sort of self-cleaning. And these are amethyst points because they're going to be projecting their spiritual self out. And connection means I've lost my connection thing, but it really means connecting out into the universe and making things much better. So then let's see, the next one it's a pretty bright one. This is Realization. And they're 3 different kinds of blue stones, but Realization is working with those energies to support the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth. And all these green stones, green is actually the heart chakra color. So they go to that point with the external process of bringing out our higher expression into the world. This is a beautiful piece of bloodstone, and I put some small quartz points on it, a little mother of pearl in the middle to show the white light shining out from the center of it. I really, really like that particular grid. And this is a grid that I think is a lot of fun. And it's called Dynamic. And it is to bring, it's another one where you see the threes. When I talked about, you see the threes here. Threes are the communications, and odd numbers in numerology, odd numbers in tarot cards too. They always mean change or something's coming together, something's, and especially with threes, it's communicate. And this just has some really, really shiny stuff and some cool quartz crystals flaring out and showing it up. And I just think it's a really nice shape and form about change. Now this one's an interesting grid, and it's called Soul Time. And it's a time when our soul is going through a lot of transitioning, a lot of unearthing, a lot of bringing forth into itself. And it's working with our sense of personal power. You can see these are beautiful. These things and these arches around them are a tiger's eye, and they're just gorgeous when you see them in person. There's some blue lace agate, which is a grounding thing. There's sardonyx, which is also grounding, but it's to bring your soul. Kim on Intuitive View talks about that the earth is going through, we're going through a process of unearthing the things our soul really needs to know. And that's what this grid's kind of about. That's the energy that's behind it. Now, whatever intentions a person places with this is what will be powered out of it. So it doesn't like say you can only do that here. It's just, that's the energy that's behind it. And this is a grid that I've made a couple of different times, and I really love it. And it's called the Divine Feminine. And the Divine Feminine is where we're taking our feminine power here. These are rhodochrosites, so there's 6 of them. And this is a grid for balance. So there's 6 of those, 6 of the Amazonite, and then all these wonderful amethyst points going out, bursting out from the center. And this is, I love the form in this. I love the energy that's behind it when I'm building it. It's just so much fun. And then we have a grid this one's a little unusual for me because I used a carved agate in the middle. This is a carved stone in the middle. And I used it because, for one, this particular grid, which is Synergy, it has this funny yellow green in the middle. And I couldn't find a stone that really worked with the yellow green colors, but it's synergy. It's bringing all these energies together. And so this has rough and tumbled crystals in it. These are very highly tumbled yellow citrines. And it's got a yellow aventurine for adventure, and it's got a blue little point of amazonite at the top. But that synergy, and for this person, that the element of the frequency of this is to take things that aren't known and make them known. Take things that you wouldn't normally put together and get them together and make them blend and make them become one. That's the energy that's behind this. And I think if you take all those stones and just lay them next to each other, they're kind of okay. But when you put it together in this pattern, in this way, you can just feel the synergy, the broiling, the making things that are dissimilar, similar, but yet respecting the similar shapes that they have, respecting each for its own shape, but respecting how it fits with the whole. So that is the last of the grids. I have a couple of other ones, but you've already seen them the other night. And there's some that people who drew, there were 3 people who got authority this time, and all of their authorities look very different because of kind of where they are and how it worked out. And when I looked at my notes, what I thought because I try to stay as close as I can to the definition of the different things. The different cards say things like alchemy, allowance, authority, belief, change, compassion, communication, conception, consciousness, crown chakra, delight, discernment, earth. And when you get your grid, you get the description of what your card was about. But it is not limited to that aspect of your life. These are power grids that are there to help power your intentions. I think in a lot of cases, people said, well, I didn't really understand that till I got it home and I started working with it, and I really understood what that energy meant for me. So, and I think the universe does that for us. So that's the last of my grid showings. Now I will be spending the rest of this evening bundling these little babies up, because I've already got it scheduled for the post office to pick them up and drag them off to where they belong. And for some of the people, that's going to be a nice trip, because they'll get it in 4 to 6 days at the absolute most. Some will get it in 2 days because of the states that they're in. But for the poor woman who lives in a place called Medicine Hat, Alberta, honey, I'm sending it to you. But my experience with Canada is that's risky business. Getting things up there, getting them through customs, and then getting them shipped on to you. So I don't think anybody's ever said theirs was opened or looked at. But I know that when I sent one to Lilac Lantern, who does happen to be in Canada, and I sent it to her, and I go, did you get it yet? She goes, are you sure you sent it? I mean, it was like a long time before we got it there. Also, I do want to reiterate, if you have any thoughts about things you think people should know, if you've been close to a position where you had to make sudden health decisions for someone or had to help someone through a transition, let me know if you have a question or a suggestion or a comment for something that made it easier. We're going to try to use this as a way to enlighten people, lessen their load, give them a chance to think about that spiritual situation before they get there, which is always good. It's always good if you kind of practice and see in your mind where you want it to go. Now, I'm not saying this is going to stop all of the cat fights that families have in hallways. And I grew up in a hospital. I wasn't actually living there, but my dad was a doctor. And I saw families tearing each other up because they were in so much grief. That was the most productive thing they could think to do. And I think if you have things a little better planned out than that, you can maybe avoid it. Now, I am absolutely sure from talking to enough people that they have family members that no matter how much great planning they did ahead of time, they'd still have a fight in the hallway. But it just gives you a chance to think it through and understand where you are and maybe make it easier for you, for your loved ones, and for everyone around you to go through those experiences with you. So that's what I'm looking for now. Also, any crystal questions you have? Ooh, I forgot. Almost forgot. I got a lovely blanket from a lady named Linda Thompson, and it's a gorgeous, huge white blanket. It fits across my queen size bed. And it's a piece of artwork her daughter did. And I have to figure out a way to be able to photograph it so that it looks like as beautiful as it is. So Linda, I'm working on it. But I got a lovely present from Sherry, who's a mutual friend of my son's and myself. And this is a story about a tarot deck. It's about if you go through and there are all the different cards that are in the tarot, and there's a story that goes along with each of them, a whole bunch of short stories. I started reading it last night. It's really interesting. So I'm really glad she sent that to me. I'd never seen anything quite like that before. And I'm really interested to get into it and find out more about it. But first, I have to mail, which is like my least favorite. No, documenting these guys, because see, on the back of each of these is a list of all the stones that are on there, what the color is, where it's sitting, what its attributes are, and why I placed it on the grid. I want people to have that information, but it takes me longer to put those into a matrix and a grid than it does for me to put the stones together. I like the stones. The stones and I are good friends. My computer skills, while very good, I just find documenting that kind of thing very boring. But it's necessary because you couldn't use your grid if you didn't kind of understand what's there. So that's it for today. And I look forward to seeing you later in the week. I'm not sure what I'm going to be talking about yet, but I'm sure it'll be fascinating, at least to me.